Welcome back to Franchise Vibes. And today, the vibes we're on is Mom Boss Vibes, a mother daughter's journey in caregiving and franchising. And I'm excited today to have Megan Scott and Melody Toby. How you guys doing?
Good, good.
Fine.
Happy to be here.
I'm so glad to bring this. May, we're going to be thinking about our moms because of Mother's Day. So I'm excited to know about you guys' journey. So first, we'd like an introduction. Tell us a little bit more about your background and your experience.
My background is finance, accounting and finance. I was a college professor for a long time, a finance professional before that in corporate world. I left teaching about 5 years ago to join Megan in the business. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm Megan Scott. I'm the owner and operator of Right at Home of Essex County. I've been acting as owner for about 8 years now, and this is our 21st year in business. Prior to operating a home care agency and getting into the healthcare senior space, I was actually a PR professional. So I have a background in communications and marketing. And I was working for PR agencies, actually doing consumer food and beverage, so very different than what I'm doing now.
Yes, that's very different. It's interesting. So tell us about how you both got started with Right at Home and what inspired the decision to go into business together.
So actually, as Megan indicated, the business was started 21 years ago now. This month actually would be the 21st year.
Mhm.
My husband Moses Scott was at in the corporate sector and decided after thinking about it and considering other franchises, considering other opportunities to purchase this franchise because of his experience, his direct experience with his family having to take care of his mom in
Mm,
Virginia. So we were exposed firsthand to what it would be like to take care of aging people in place especially, and then also in facilities because she had to be transferred ultimately to a facility after a while. At any rate, he considered other franchises and he felt that this would probably be the best fit with his personality. He took very good care of the franchise. And after he passed away in 2017, actually, even before he did, Megan and I tried to keep, not tried, we kept the franchise going until he passed. And then Megan decided that she would want to work in the franchise full time with this business. I was still working as a college professor until 2020. And I felt that it would be best for me to leave that, to retire from that, and join her on a full time basis.
mhm.
So we've been working together in the franchise for about 5 years. She's been doing this for about 8 years. And that's a summary. There's a lot that happened in between, but that's a summary of where we are, brings us up to where we are today.
Okay. So was it always going to be in the senior care or or when you say other franchises, was it outside of this industry that you guys were considering?
So he did. He looked at actually three franchises. One was in it also all entrepreneurially oriented. One was actually in consulting, but this one, right at home, the home care space, he felt much more comfortable with pursuing franchising in the home care space, and especially with his experience with his mom.
Mm,
And it fit, it worked. And again, it worked because of the demographics in addition to the skill set that is needed to be in this space. So there was no other serious consideration. There might have been some consideration for other similar franchises. There are several out there. Right at
right.
Home is certainly not the only one,
Mhm.
but somehow Right at Home seemed to offer the right kind of support and opportunity, especially in New Jersey. So he went with Right at Home of Essex County. We went with Right at Home and purchased the Essex County location.
Awesome. Awesome. What is it like working together as a mother-daughter team? How do you balance the business with your personal relationship?
And do you want to try that one? I hope she says that we stay in our lanes. We really do. We're very, very different in terms of our skill sets.
I would
And
love to hear about
yeah,
it.
I'm upstairs hidden away and she's downstairs with the people. But go ahead, Megan.
Um, yeah, I think, yes, that is a really important part of it, just making sure that we have a very clear delineation of tasks.
Mm,
So we don't always work on the same thing. We separate what we're doing and we both have different focus areas so that we're not on top of each other all the time. And to her point, we have very different skill sets, very different interests. So we try to do things that we both enjoy doing and do aspects of the business that play to our strengths. So for example, my mom really focuses on like the financials and the numbers. That is her strength, that is her background. It makes my eyes completely gloss over. So I don't want to get into the weeds and be in QuickBooks and be sitting there all day staring at numbers. That's just not me. That's not what I like to do. So that's what she handles, and that's what I appreciate that she handles because then I don't have to worry about it. Um, I love going out. I love doing networking and business development. I support the hiring process by meeting all of our caregivers and making sure that we're sending people to the right places. And I do a lot of client interaction on a day-to-day basis, putting out fires,
mm,
just getting in touch with people, giving updates, communicating, and making sure that they're happy with services. So I think, we keep our tasks separate for a reason. There are times where the personal crosses over into the business, and she'll come down and knock on my door and say, I have to talk to you about something. And I'm thinking it's a client or a caregiver, but instead she wants to talk about like my brother or my sister. And I kind of in my head, I'm like, well, I am in the middle of working. I guess this is important stuff too. But fortunately for us owning our own business, we do have the luxury of being able to pause for a second in what we're doing and
mm,
talk about the personal, make sure that all things are covered off on. And I have two kids too. So sometimes, I need to ask her a favor. Hey, can you go pick up one of the kids from school? And so being here together running our business allows us to kind of help
mm.
each other out, I think, with the personal stuff as well.
Yeah, I love that. So, what would you say is the one thing you've learned from each other during this journey that's helped the business thrive?
I learned two things. Number one, that if you are planning to go into a business, go into a business with somebody who's different, whose skill set is different. Do not attempt to go into business unless you have some plan B with someone who has the exact same skill set or same emotional connections to things or interests as you
Mm,
do. I think diversity, I know it's a bad word right now, but it's a very important aspect of doing business together. That's number one. That's big number one for me because
mhm,
it is that difference that really is our secret sauce. The second thing that I learned is that, and this is again from a business perspective, is that we do have similar goals. We both want the franchise to succeed or the business to succeed. There's no question in my mind that I could trust Megan to come up with ideas and to make decisions that are headed in the same direction that I want the business to go. We both want success. We may want it perhaps to look a little different, but we are very much focused on similar goals. So we're not going to do anything. We may disagree on how to get there, but we're not going to do anything that is very different from that may deviate from those goals. after how many years after 8 years and 5 full-time years with her. Yeah, I know I'm not worried. Not
Got
worried
it.
at all. I can trust her to do what what will work best for both of us, for all of us, actually.
What has franchising allowed you to do that you may not have been able to achieve on your own?
The way that we came into the business, like my
Mhm.
mom said, it was not expected.
Mhm.
It was not planned. We didn't anticipate that this was going to happen.
Mhm.
So when all of a sudden my dad got sick and he really just couldn't run the day to day anymore, we didn't know what we were doing when we jumped into the business. I had so much to learn. And
Mm.
being a part of a franchise really helped that process. So once formally he passed away and we made the decision to sign the paperwork and transfer over the ownership of the business to the both of us, we actually were able to go out to Omaha, where Right at Home is based, and do the formal training that they do for anyone who first comes into the franchise. So they allowed us to come out for 2 weeks and go
Mhm.
through all of the training. They supported us incredibly from day one. So as soon as things happened, they got on the phone with us. They allowed us to make the choices and decisions that we want to make. And they let us know that they were there to support us the entire time. We also connected almost immediately. I remember one of the first things that I did when I, stepped into this role full time is I went and met with all of the other franchisees in New Jersey, and I sat with them and I said, tell me about how you run your business. What are your operations? What is your day to day? So just even having the other franchisees so close by was really helpful. And those are all good friends of ours to this day. We bounce things off
Wow.
of each other all the time. I'm in constant communication with some of the other owners. One, because, we might share clients because our territories are so close, but just coming up with ideas. Uh,
Mhm.
is this what you're seeing? Hey, what rates are you charging? What are you paying your caregivers? We can do things like that because regionally we are so close. So for us, we love the franchising model because it really, really, really benefited us. If my dad was running an independent home care agency and I just had to step in and take over, I'm not sure we would have been able to do it so seamlessly
Mm.
without the support of the franchise. Um, so there were so many things that we were grateful for at that time, and there's so many things that we continue to be grateful for being a part of a franchise system, like right now.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And thank you for that. You touched on quite a few points that I do try to explain and talk about, and things that are within the process as a franchise broker and consultant, of the differences in just starting up a business from scratch, and as opposed to going into a franchise model where you're going to get particular amount of support. And you spoke on the one of the most important steps that I think is probably this definitely the most important step, which would be the validation stage where you are speaking with other owners, and how important that is. And as you said, you're still good friends with them today, and it's a network that you're building and staying within, that you can bounce ideas off each other. So that's an excellent point. Thank you for sharing that, Megan.
I wanted to add a couple of things. To summarize, I agree with everything that Megan said. Franchising gives you a family. We do not see ourselves as competitors. At least I don't. I don't see the other franchisees in New Jersey as competitors. We support each other. It's not a kumbaya kind of relationship where we always, let's do this together. But we do see that if one succeeds, the others succeed because it gives the name of the franchise. It helps to boost the name of the franchise. So for me, from where I see it, I think franchising is an excellent way to be an entrepreneur with the support of feeling that you could fall backwards, you know what I mean? And you have people, you have that support. Because as I always say, the franchise corporate succeeds if we succeed. That's how it works. They succeed if we succeed. So it is in their interest, whether they love us or not, it is in their interest to do everything possible to ensure that we do well. And so, people say, well, you have to pay a royalty, and they don't like the idea that with franchising, in some ways you have to answer to somebody above you. Well, I thought that is always true in life anyway. But the fact is, paying royalties is fine. Why? Because I always say 100% of zero is zero. So you don't have to pay royalties to someone. Does that make you, does that increase the probability of success? Of course not. Because you could have 100% of something that doesn't go anywhere. Okay.
Mm,
With franchising, yes, we pay royalties, and sometimes there's grumbling about it, but look at the upside. Look at the upside. There's one other thing I want to mention, though it's very specific about the benefits of franchising. I remember during COVID, and it is a specific example. Our franchise, the corporate office, was able to negotiate prices that we could not negotiate on our own. Yes, we had to do it on our own. We had to make decisions about purchasing products and services, and even things like the PPP.
mm.
But they were able to point us in the right direction. And my goodness, you can't replace that, because finding the right banks, finding the right products and services, especially during COVID, when everybody was scrambling around, didn't know what they were doing, what we were doing, and how to survive.
That's great. Thank you for that. And I love the way you put that. Never thought of it in that way, 100% of zero, you know. So
It
I
is.
love that. It's a good way of putting it. So speaking about that support, or continue on with the support, how has Right at Home franchise system helped you grow your business over the years?
I think just in general, home care is a very crowded space.
Mm,
There are so many home care agencies, especially in this area. We operate out of Essex County, New Jersey. That's our territory. I couldn't even tell you how many home care agencies that are here. So I think just simply having first the brand recognition, the
mhm,
name attached to what we're doing is really valuable and does help us stand out in a crowded space. I would say Right at Home is considered to be one of the top brands of home care, whether you've heard about Right at Home of Essex County or, Right at Home of Middlesex County, whatever it is. People do have familiarity with the Right at Home brand because of the name and the way that it's developed over the years, the size and scope of it, right? So I think that that's one thing that in general always plays to our strengths and favor. Um, Right at Home does a lot of stuff on the back end. They actually manage our website. They help us with like SEO optimization and things along those lines, and connecting us with several resources for companies that would support our online presence. So, for example, a few years ago, we became involved with Right at Home's preferred vendor. Again, we're not forced to take these opportunities, but Right at Home presents, okay, here's a great resource. Here's what it's done for other businesses. See if you want it to do the same for you. And we've chosen to get involved with the companies that Right at Home recommends that help us run Google ads and banner ads and things like that, and drive more traffic to our website. And I absolutely have seen a direct connection between those efforts that we work on and the increase in business that we have, the traffic to our website, the inquiries through
mhm,
our website, things like that. So a lot of the back end stuff that Right at Home handles directly affects our business on a day to day. But also just continuing to always offer training, support, guidance, new marketing materials, stories to put out there in, articles and blog posts and different things for us to continue to build our brand on a personal level. Right at Home provides that. We can personalize it and then use it how we want. So I think that, oh, and also caregiver recruitment,
mm.
um, helping
That's big.
support those efforts. Yeah, yeah, getting us in partnership with companies that post job postings and giving us recommendations, best practices, and experts to speak to about doing these types of things. Also, too, just continuing to keep in touch with the other owners and
Yeah.
figuring out, well, what are you doing that's working?
Mm,
And adapting some of those practices if we feel that it's right for our business. So that's another way that the franchise helps us on a daily basis.
all
I
right.
I do have one other. It just occurred to me. Right at Home is part of the Home Care Association of America. What is it, Megan? Home Care Association of
AOA.
America. So they are, I guess they in a sense, it's a lobbying group. So
Mm,
they keep us up to date on legislation, which is matters for home care because there's always a lot coming down the pike, what we can and can't do, what we have to look out for, what's on the horizon. So we probably wouldn't do it on our own, but
mm-hmm.
certainly the fact that there is quite a bit happening in Washington in general in the healthcare space, that's something we need to pay attention to. And Megan, definitely not me. I would not be interested in going down there to find out. I look at the bulletins and I appreciate the attention that they pay to legislation.
Awesome. Well, Miss Melody, I do have a question for you. As a mom, what does it mean to be building a legacy with your daughter through this business?
It means everything for me because, as I always say, I really don't need anything. I've been out here for a long time. I have been, still have a career, and I'm grateful for that. But for me, it's really all about making sure that these these my children and grandchildren now have something to build on, and we can continue to build because Megan is, and she is the chief and I trust her with the legacy. It really, it means everything for me because, again, I think that certainly as African Americans, Black folk, we need to pay attention to the next generations. We don't do enough to pass it along. And I am really laser focused on ensuring, I can't do everything, but I'm laser focused on ensuring that we build something that makes the next generation do better if possible. I mean, ultimately it's their responsibility. But so again, in answer to your question, means everything.
I got you. Yes. And Megan, what has it meant to learn from and grow alongside your mother in a professional setting?
I mean, it's been great. It's worked out well for both of us. I think something that I take for granted, which my mom was just saying, is that, we both have the same goals
Mhm.
and we're always kind of thinking about it in terms of like, how can this benefit our family? So it's not just about us. And, we're always willing to try to create opportunity or assistance. Like if a family member, needs the help, and there's some way for our business to help that person, then we can do it. And that's a luxury that a lot of people don't have, and that I wouldn't necessarily have if I was running the business with someone else. So I think
Mm,
the fact that we ultimately, while we don't always see eye to eye on how to get there, like she said before, we have the same goal. And one of those big goals is providing for our family in the present and in the future.
mm. So how has being women and mothers influenced the way you serve families in your community through Right at Home?
I always say we're a family business in the business of family.
Mm,
And so when she and I have a tricky issue that we're kind of talking through, we do think about it in terms of like, well, what if this person was our family member? What would we want for them? And we
mm,
both draw on like personal experiences, people that we know, people that we both know, um, to bring different lens and ideas to this potential solution of a problem. So I think that being family, helps us to kind of bring everyone into our family, right? We just want to
yeah.
grow our family in terms of clients and caregivers and office staff and everything. We treat people like they're our family, and I do think we approach things differently because we are a family business, and we'll sit and have these really thoughtful and meaningful conversations about what it means for the people who are becoming part of our family as well.
What's one of your proudest moments since starting your Right at Home franchise?
I think we have a lot of proud moments. I think we've done a lot of things really, really well over the years, but I always think about the fact that I mean we've grown the business pretty significantly since it was my dad's business. But not only have we grown it, what is it, like 5 times or whatever the percentage. She's the numbers person, she could tell you the percentage.
Mm,
But we've done it in a way that is thoughtful,
mhm,
intentional, and in line with our values. I don't think we've ever gotten so big that we can no longer manage the business the way that we want to, which is with us both being pretty heavily involved in the day to day, knowing who all of our clients are and knowing who all of our caregivers are. When my dad started his business, he was very hands-on. He would spend hours and hours with clients. He would spend so much time with caregivers. He knew like caregivers' children's birthdays and would celebrate with them and take people out to lunch and do all of these things that were so special and meaningful and helped him get to the place where he was. So when we took over, we didn't want to lose that
mm,
really personalized touch. We wanted to keep that. But as you know, when you grow a business, it becomes hard, right? To keep some of that because it's time.
mm.
So I think we've come up with ways to still value people and make them feel special, perhaps a little more efficiently than my dad would do it. Um, but yeah, I think we've grown the business nicely in a way that we can both be proud of.
That's amazing. What's next for your business? Are there any new goals or expansion plans?
We dabbled in the idea, we considered taking on another territory. Um, there was a territory available in New Jersey. We thought about it, we talked about it, we had conversations with corporate about it, and ultimately we decided that it wasn't the right path to us. I think at this point, in terms of just franchise area, um, we do well with what we have, and we still have a lot of potential. I feel like there's still more that we can do right here. I think also too, part of why we do so well in Essex County is because we are from Essex County. We grew up
Mm,
here. We have such community here and such support here. So I think all that works to our favor. So in terms of taking on another territory, that's probably not going to happen at the moment. However, we have been thinking about ways to innovate within our business. We recently just launched a new program that we call the Enrich program.
mhm,
So our bread and butter is our certified home health aides who go out to people's homes. They perform personal care, companion care. They help with the toileting, the bathing, the dressing, and all of that. We launched a new program to focus more on the companionship, the
mm,
friendship, the fun stuff. And so now we're trying to support our current clients with this Enrich program, where we're bringing things like games to the house and conversation topics and ideas and focusing more on the cognitive, stimulating the cognitive, um, and helping support that aspect of people's day to day as well. So I think we hope to continue to grow that program and form a team so that we can touch more people at once. Right now, we have a wonderful woman who's leading the team and doing such a great job, not only bringing more fun to our clients, but also, kind of showing the caregivers ways to engage the
mm.
clients further. So that's become something that's really fun for us and a cool new business extension that fits in really nicely with what we're already doing.
And I saw in your profile, living well, which I'm assuming is part of, right at home, or maybe it's a combination. So what does living well mean to you, both as business owners and as family?
I think being able to contribute something to make people's lives a little bit better while we make ours better. I'm not Pollyanna. I I think that it helps that, it could make that what we do does make our life, both of our lives or our families' lives a bit better. We try to do that for our caregivers as well, by the way. So, I think that that's a big piece of it. Living well. feeling good about what we do. We try to really toe the line. I believe very strongly in operating an ethical kind of business. We can hold our heads up as owners of a business that is contributing in ways that, we're not perfect people, but we can certainly hold our heads up as a business that is not only contributing, but, that is, at least for now, flourishing. And we don't know what the future holds, but trying to do things the right way. But concentrating or focusing or understanding what it means to live well, we make the kinds of decisions that would allow us to continue to do what we do, cost and benefits, not just for ourselves, but for others. But I do want to answer one. I know I want to go back just a little because it occurred to me that you asked a question about being proud. One of the things that we're proudest of. And you know what popped into my head, Megan? So last year, we celebrated our 20th, we really celebrated all year, our 20th anniversary. One of the things that I'm proudest of is the number of caregivers who've been with us. We have one caregiver in particular who's been with us for 19 years, several for 18, 17, 16. What we did was we selected about 10 or 15, about 15 of the longest serving caregivers, for God's sake. And I just, for these women, they were all women. We do have male caregivers as well, but these were all women who had been with us. It's for a long time. They've been with us through thick and thin. And I am so proud of the fact that one of them just sent me a text. We celebrate. I can't say her name, but I do want to at least tell. I want to read what she said. Okay. She said, she said, "Good morning. Thanks so much for your gift. I do appreciate it. I also appreciate the recognition of your workers. That is why I love this company. We are like family. Thanks again."
That's awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we wrap up, what advice would you give to other mothers or daughters who are thinking about going into business together?
What advice? Don't sweat the small stuff. I know it's cliched. Focus on your skills. Build your skills. I don't stop learning accounting and finance or taxes or whatever because I'm old. I stopped learning the technology, but I respect Megan. I respect her ability. She's much younger, but I do respect. I think respect for each other's strengths and weaknesses. Learning not to take things too personally helps a lot. As because it's hard not to slip into, well, you're my child, and I know more than you do. Well, yeah, I do, but I have to keep that to myself. I do, I do, I do. I know so much more than she does, but I can't
Right. I
say
mean,
it.
sometimes it has to be a business conversation, not a personal conversation. And sometimes it goes in the way of how I would speak to a colleague and not necessarily speak to my mother. But sometimes you just got to get over it and keep moving on. Like
Yeah,
you cannot sit in it. If you disagree about something, you got to get over it and move on the same way that you would with someone you're not related to. So sometimes it can get tricky. But
yeah.
as long as the respect is there and the consideration of what the other person is trying to say, it can work.
She used the word colleague. She has a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, two
They're
and a
my
half year old.
colleagues as well.
Cutest things I've ever seen in my life. But she talks to me sometimes as if I'm somewhere in between 2 and 6, and I have to swallow it. She thinks I'm one of her kids.
And I disagree. See? It happens it happens all the time.
But anyway, seriously, I think that there are some pretty big emotional things that you have to kind of control. But the skills, the respect and trust are key, key. And you know, we don't have to bring other people into our mess, but use right, maybe. That is not going to go anywhere. But the synergy that we have, we understand synergy. 1 and 1 is equal to 3 in this case. And we know that the reason why we can do better is because we're working together and we add the strengths that we have to make it bigger.
Mm,
That's how we have to try to see it. It's a business. This is business.
I hear that. Well, ladies, this has been great. I feel like it was very empowering, and there's a lot of insights and some gems that was definitely dropped with the both of you. And I really do appreciate you guys doing this here on Franchise Vibes. Thank you so much for joining. Any last words, even if it's just advice, not necessarily a mom or daughter, just any last bit of advice for people that are watching?
I think more people ought to consider franchising and not just see McDonald's and Burger King in franchising. I think we ought to be looking around, Black folk especially, we need to be looking around, look at the demographics, do an environmental scan to see the opportunities that are available in franchising. I really feel strongly about that because we're missing out on opportunities if we don't do it. There are
I would
lots
like
of
to say I did
opportunities.
not pay or tell anyone to say anything like that. Because this is something I joke, but this is something that I've been saying, and I do try to highlight businesses outside of food and opportunities for minorities and things of that nature. And I talk about that stuff all the time. So I joke and say that, but I love that you said that. Well, there you have it. I think these were very insightful and empowering guests. And I'm so glad that we had them here today. I hope that you learned and picked up some of those gems that was dropped. Again, if you are interested in this industry or even particularly this brand, I am here to help you, guide you through the process and making sure that we find your right fit. So, again, thank you for joining Franchise Lives. Until next one.